Welcome to the Time for Heroes podcast.
Hi there, I'm Danny McNamara from Embrace, and you're listening to the Time for Heroes podcast.
Wow. Danny McNamara, lead singer of Embrace, 6 top 10 singles, 9 top 10 albums, 3 of which are number ones, and you're celebrating this year your 30th anniversary. You've got a tour coming up, and you've just released a book. So we're going to try and fill all this in the time I've got with you.
Yeah.
But what I like today is go back to the start, what life was like for a young Danny growing up.
It's a pretty idyllic childhood, really. The nearest thing I can think of as a common reference would be something like the film Stand By Me.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, we used to play out all day, like literally get up at 8 in the morning and come on for dinner and then go back out again, then come on for tea, then go back out again and just be like out all day. And there were a massive gang of kids on my street, and I think there's about 15 of us, aged sort of between about 7 or 8 and up to about sort of 13, 14. And, we used to get up to all sorts of mischief. But it was pretty idyllic childhood. My mum and dad have always been together, not suffered really in that sense. So, yeah.
What was like the family home like musically? Was it always was music always a thing?
My dad will tell you that he's the musical talent in the family because he used to play drums in a band, or he did for a very short period of time. But I actually think it's my mum. My mum has got a really beautiful voice. She sings a little bit like Aaron Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to sing to me when I was a kid. So I really remember that. My mum also went to a load of really big gigs. I mean, she saw everybody. She saw the Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Stones, like everyone.
Mm.
Whereas my dad was more into sort of Northern Soul and sort of Tamla Motown and all that sort of stuff. And they used to go to the Twisted Wheel and danced like, whether it be the Supremes or the Four Tops or whatever it was.
So I was on the Facebook, the Embrace message board Facebook thing, and I asked people if they had any questions as well. So I've chucked some of them in from time to time. So one of the questions was, what was the first album that you bought?
First album I ever bought was, I got as a gift, was Elvis Presley Love Songs. I used to really love Elvis Presley. He died when I was 6, and I used to do impressions of him. So he was on the TV all the time. It was like films like Kissing Cousins and Aloha Hawaii and Jailhouse Rock and the one with the racing cars and loads of other ones. And because he just died, he was on TV relentlessly. And I remember I was like 6 years old and just watching him and just thinking it was really cool. He used to get the acoustic guitar out and then he'd snap a string. And because he was playing it so aggressively, and I used to think, wow, he means it so much that he's snapping a string on his guitar. He must be really into his music. I wish I was like that. And so my grandma got me a leather jacket, which wasn't a real leather jacket, obviously, because they don't make real leather jackets for 10-year-olds, 6-year-olds, whatever. But it felt real. And I used to tell everybody it was real, even though it said polyester inside it. And I used to go around pretending I was Elvis or the Fonz or whatever. I used to also think I could run 60 miles an hour as well, like the $6 million man. My mate used to say, I can run 70 miles an hour. And I was like, no, come on, that's just unrealistic.
So I'm in Embrace then, and obviously you suffer from PTSD, OCD.
Yeah.
When did that come in? That was at
the beginning. That was really early, like between sort of being 19 and 22. I've always had OCD, and it's sort of always been there. But between the ages of 19 and 22, I had a weirdly near-death experience in a car, and that led to this awful sort of where I was just like haunted by these thoughts in my head, which was really, really terrifying. Probably the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. The OCD doesn't really affect me like that anymore. I think it's one of the things that affects my speaking voice. So you'll notice that my voice sort of goes in and out a little bit now and again.
Which is odd actually, because like see, like back in the day, like back when you came out, I don't know if it's just because I was younger and the way I consume music, but I can't ever mind you like being interviewed and speaking.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
only recently that
yeah, yeah. In the last sort of maybe dozen years or so,
mm,
it sort of moves from thing to thing. I mean, the doctors don't think that that's what it is. They think it's something else, but I don't think they're right.
mm,
But yeah, it moves. It sort of morphs and moves on to various different things. I am getting better though. Like one of the reasons I started doing the spoken word tour that I'm doing
mm-hmm.
is because of the difficulty I've got with my speaking voice. And I just thought, well, if I've got to get up and talk in front of 50 or 100 people every night, it's going to get better or it's not. It's going to be one or the other.
The thing is, it doesn't really matter because you're amongst friends, aren't you?
Well, that's it. I mean, and actually, what I've found is that it has helped me get better.
Mm, that's nice.
Yeah, and also like reading to my daughters. I've got two young daughters, like one's 4 and one's 7, and I like read books like The Mr. Men or whatever, and do all the voices, and that really helps as well because I'm out of my own thing and thinking about them, and that really helps with the other CD, which again like makes my voice better. It really only happens when I'm worrying about it or thinking about it or focusing on it.
I'm sorry if I
I'm
brought that
just at
up
home
then.
when I'm just at home normal, it's absolutely fine. And when I'm singing, it's absolutely fine as well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's some really good podcasts. Obviously, I've listened to you. I think you did sound effects with
yeah.
Katie,
Yeah, that
and
was great. I really enjoyed that one. If
and
anybody
obviously,
hasn't listened to that, go and check that out.
yeah, I'll direct them to that. And obviously, you did one with James McMahon, who's no longer with us.
Yeah,
Also
unfortunately,
suffered
yeah.
with OCD, and he's a good
Yeah,
pal. He was a good pal of mine. So
yeah,
I'll put those two shows in the show
yeah,
notes for people to direct them.
yeah, definitely.
But so 1996, you kind of came onto the scene. Your album out in 1998, The Good Will Out, which went to #1. And back then, a lot of people, because of the brother thing, like to compare you to Oasis.
Yeah,
Now, obviously, the brother thing's completely different because you and Rick, what I see anyway, it's no as volatile as Liam and Noel. But the comparison I would make is the quality of the B-sides. Like right throughout your career, your B-sides have been amazing, as were Oasis's. So,
yeah.
why do you think
I
your
think
B-sides are so
the
quality?
legacy of that, and like any bands sort of coming up in the 90s, was the idea of EPs, and it's really from like the Smiths, I guess, and but then also bands like Ride and Suede, who would always release really great tracks at the beginning, on those first few EPs. I think in England, like there's such when you're a new band that everybody really likes, when you're sort of the band for 6 months or whatever, as we were at one point, I mean, there's so much hype around you that you just feel like if you just release a single with an A side and a BB side, it's not going to live up to it, And so we felt we needed to put as much music out, much of the good stuff out as quickly as possible, so that the
Mhm.
hype was backed up. So that was the thought behind those early EPs, and on the first EP we've got Fireworks and Now You're Nobody and Last Gasp and Behind, and then yeah, we did try to keep the quality up.
Yeah, because I mean, you look obviously Oasis have got the Master Plan album with all the B sides, and then you've got your one, which is on par with that as well. And the B sides continue really right up to this New Day album.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
relentless. And between those two albums, like the secret gigs appeared as well. And so that
yeah.
was another question: was kind of where did the ideas come for the secret gigs, and who was coming up with the ideas? Because I know as well, Jonathan McNamara, is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
your
Yeah,
brother?
my brother, yeah.
He was quite involved around about that time as well.
Yeah, well, he used to do our website. Right? Doesn't anymore, but he used to. Back before social media, we used to have a forum, and that would be how we would communicate with all the fans and stuff. All the amount of ideas that we've had for secret gigs is absolutely mental. Like for every one that gets done, we have at least a dozen crazy ones that we haven't yet done.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them we've ended up doing later as the technology's gotten better. But yeah, I think it's trying to make each one unique in its own way, make it special, make it something that everyone's going to remember for the rest of their lives. And we only do them if we've got like a really great idea. So we haven't done one for a little while. It's been a couple of years, but we definitely will be doing it again, without a doubt. Because
Yeah.
I think it's a really important part of who we are as a band.
It's that connection with the fan base, isn't it? I think he's done one like on a beach in Scotland before teeing the
Yeah,
park.
well, we were going to do one up there, but it got rained off, unfortunately. So that was one of the really early ones. I think that was like the second or third ever one we were going to do, and it got called off. But yeah, we have done some in Scotland. We did one in a climbing centre in Scotland, which was pretty mental, and one in Edinburgh in this big castle. I seem to remember. But yeah, we've done craziest one we did was we broke into the Big Brother house and did one in there, which is pretty mental.
Well, I had the DVD, the Secret Gig Mallorca one. I can mind having that. I don't know what I've done with that.
Yeah,
DVD.
there's an Easter egg on that where if you press the right combination of buttons, you'll see us breaking into the Big Brother house.
Right. I'll need to try and locate that again. So, I mean, like, round about that time then, as I say, the Tea in the Park, I think I seen you at my very first Tea in the Park. So I went to like 11 Tea in the Parks in a row. And obviously the first time I've been to a festival, just me and my mate, as I told you off mic, and we camped next to the toilets because we thought that'd be a good idea, easy access to the toilets.
That's not a good idea.
We had a river of shit going by our tent by the end of the weekend. And we left after the Sunday night. We go to the bus home, which is the only time I've ever done that. But I can mind, I woke my sister up and I says, I was absolutely bogging. I says, I've no washed my hands because I shook hands with Danny McNamara right down the front at your set. I think you were closing King Tut's or something that night.
Yeah.
So I was begging. I says, kiss my hand. I was covered in mud and everything. And this was at 3 o'clock in the morning, waking my sister up. So she wasn't happy with me for that.
Well, the gigs that we did at Tea in the Park, in my top 5 gigs that the band has ever done. It's always been really special, especially the ones where we headlined in the tent. I think we did it 2 or 3 times, and they're maybe like 1, 2, and 4 or something crazy like that in my gigs of all time. The crowds, it was so noisy that we started with all your good people, and Richard's amp blew up halfway through the song. And we didn't know until the end of the song that his amp had blown up because the audience was so loud, we couldn't hear anything we were doing. It was almost like, the Beatles used to say that about playing in America, that they couldn't hear themselves for the screaming fans. That's what it was like at Tea in the Park. And seriously, I've never been in a crowd by any band where it's been that noisy. It was just amazing, and I'll never forget it.
You always seem to have that connection with the Scottish crowd.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've seen you at the Barrowlands, and obviously I made it up to my sister. I took her, me and my mate and my sister went. But you played the Barrowlands, I don't know if it was 2000 or 2001, where you played it 2 Sundays in a row.
Yeah.
And we came to both gigs, and I had Steve on the podcast years ago, and I told him to get his backstage pass. He had this backstage pass, which I thought was a picture of Bob Dylan. He told me it wasn't. It was just him wearing a wig. But in order to get the backstage pass, I said that he could have my sister for the night, which luckily, he passed up and just gave me the pass. But I used to find that odd because I've never seen it before and never seen it after, where a band have played like two weeks in a row.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing it again on this tour, and it's sold out already, which is amazing to be together for like 30 years as a band and still, be able to sell out venues like Glasgow Barrowlands is what a ride, it's amazing.
And some of the support bands, Obviously, on this next one, you've got the Rolling People. So I've had Charlie, the lead singer, I had him in the podcast. But those gigs, 2000 and 2001, I think 2000 it was Alfie.
Right, yeah.
Which I've been in contact with Lee, the lead singer,
Lee's
to
really
try and get
cool.
him on.
I still hear from him now and again. He's a really good guy.
Well, as well as that, then this morning I spoke to Tom Bellamy from the Cooper Temple Clause.
Right, yeah.
You had them 2001. So
Yeah.
again, those two bands, Alfie and Cooper Temple Clause, I'd probably never get into if it wasn't for Embrace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We basically supporting Embrace used to be a bit of a pathway to the stars. You know, we had like Coldplay and Gomez, the Doves, you know, like loads of bands. And I just think we've got really good taste in, you know, good.
Well, so when I was speaking to Tom earlier, he said to pass on my regards to you as well.
All right, so. Yeah, definitely. I think he's in a new band now.
Yeah, he's doing his stuff Losers with Eddie Temple Morris.
Yeah, and they're really good as well. You should definitely check them out.
Yeah, they're brilliant. So, 2000, around about that time, you brought out your two albums, Drawn from Memory and If You've Never Been, after which you were dropped Be Hot.
Yeah.
And then came Out of Nothing.
Yeah.
So, we dropped and then came back with that album.
Yeah, our biggest ever album. Like, that album went on to do more than any of our other albums all added up together.
And the significance with that as well, the Youth was producing it.
Yeah.
If you look nowadays at the work Youth's doing, he's worked with Cast, he's worked with The View. He seems to have that kind of knack of resurrecting a band.
Yeah, he's really good. I absolutely love Youth. I'm quite an introverted person, and you know, I don't have that many friends, but the ones that I do have are really important to me, and I would say Youth is one of my friends. You know, I haven't seen him for a little while because he lives down in London, and I've got two kids, and I live up north in Yorkshire. But whenever I do see him, it's always like plugging back into an old family member. You know, it's like we just pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
It usually involves him slagging me off, not allowing him to produce our latest record, and now we usually go from there. But, I really do love him. He's like a real kindred spirit and incredibly intelligent and articulate and lovely company, just genuinely lovely company.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Gravity, but that kind of, it's been talked about that often.
The Angelina Jolie spaceship story, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we move on, so like, for Out of Nothing, and all the good work put in with Out of Nothing, and then this new day comes out, and you get that World Cup song.
Yeah.
Do you think everything was going all right until the World Cup song?
Like, I don't know, you know, I mean, there is that version of the history, where we were on the crest of a wave, two back-to-back number one albums, playing arenas, and then we did the World Cup, and the album sank without a trace after it went to number one. Right, I don't think that's right, really. I mean, you know, we're still here. We're still, you know, playing I mean, there's a bit of a renaissance at the moment around the band. You know, the new album has gone down really well. It's done more records than we've done in 20 years, you know, which is amazing, you know. And I think we're just a band we've got a really loyal fan base, and we've just sort of been able to roll with the punches, you know. With the World Cups, we went into it really wholeheartedly. You know, I'm not a massive fan of football. You know, I don't follow it week in, week out. My dad does, and my youngest brother Jay does, and Steve does, our best player. But I've never been that bothered. But when England are doing really well, you know, I really get behind it. You know, it's like, I think like the whole country suddenly gets really excited, especially, you know, if they make the quarterfinals and then the semi-finals. Suddenly it's like even your mum's watching it, you know. And so I wanted to write the song from a really authentic place. And so I wanted to write it from the point of view of a non-football fan that just gets swept up in the excitement of us doing well. And I think it's a really good song. I mean, I don't think it's up there with, you know, Three Lions or, you know, World in Motion, but I don't think it's far behind, you know. And it's one of the good ones. It's not a gimmicky bullshit one. It's done with the right spirit, you know. And I think if England had done well that year, it would have done well. unfortunately,
Yeah,
when he
but
didn't. So that's
yeah,
not
well,
out of my control,
that's probably where I was leading to. Is like it doesn't matter how good the song is or how bad the song is or whatever, but it depends on the team's performances how it's
Yeah,
looked back on. Then
yeah, completely, yeah,
I can
definitely.
mind Delamitri bringing out the France '98 Scotland one, and everybody said about how negative it was, but I mean that's what Scotland are. It's like I think Delamitri hit
I
it
think
right,
it's just
hit
the
the nail
amount
on
of
the head.
fucking rain that you have to put up with up there. It's kind of it makes you like have a little bit of a. I think it's that sense of humour that gets you through the grim fucking weather, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it is sunny today, but I've got the blinds down for this, but as it is sunny.
Yeah, it's lovely here as well. Yeah, rare, but yeah.
So I from this new day to the next album, Embrace, the Tally Marks album, was 8 years. So what was going on in that 8 years?
Well, I think at the end of this new day, it started feeling like the whole sort of spirit of the band wasn't really what it used to be. That the this new day as an album feels like it's all bells and whistles and doesn't really have the same soul about it that Out of Nothing's got or Goodwill Out's got or our best work. It was done in a not in a rush, but it was done. We could have spent longer, I think, and got and done a better job. I mean, you always do the best with what's in front of you, and we've never, I've always clawed at every second that we've got to get the most out of the albums as possible. But I think somewhere along the line, this new day just felt a little empty. It's got some great stuff on it, and the
Yeah.
genesis of it, working with youth in Spain, was like one of the most creative and wonderful experiences that we've had as a band. But it ended up a bit not formulaic, but maybe just a bit empty. And so we just felt like we just needed a break, to get back to, what it is about what we do that makes us want to get out of bed in the morning and do it.
Hmm.
And that took longer than we thought. We thought it would take a couple of years. It took longer. We
Well,
had a great.
in that 8 years, did you ever have any thought towards doing something different, like doing like solo or
Well,
anything
yeah. I
like
mean,
that?
I don't know if I'd ever want to do anything solo because the way that me and Rick works is there isn't any compromise at all. I feel like my work is better as a result of his input, and
Hmm.
I think vice versa. And I think we both need each other in that sense. And then also like the people in the band, Mick, Mike, and Steve, are just so supportive and really, really in our corner to get that song as good as it needs to be. And there's sort of a collective effort and a collective chemistry
Mm.
that I don't feel like there's anything that I would want to do on my own that I wouldn't want to do with the band. The band allows me to do whatever I want. I think in some bands, singers or whatever sometimes feel like they have to be a certain way for the band and they want to branch out and do something different. And I definitely do. I've got free reign with the band. I
Mm.
can do exactly what I want to do, and I do.
Yeah,
Um,
well, and that'll be why you're still the same lineup 30 years down the line.
Well, yeah, I think so. It's really rare as well that, there's only a handful of bands in the world that have reached our level of success and managed to be exactly the same people now, 30 years later, as they were at the beginning. It's very, very, very rare. And there's something to be said for that, I think.
Do you think as well? So like, obviously those early albums, it was kind of like a 2 year album tour cycle,
Yeah.
and then after that 8 year break, you come back and it's now every 4 years.
Well, it's basically when the album's ready.
But do you think that's
Well,
just that's a conscious thing that gives you time to breathe and it gives
it's
the
just
art
how long it takes to do the album. So,
right?
what we used to do is we used to sort of set a time and try and get the album finished by then. Now it's like we get the album finished and then we decide what we're going to do. And so, we've got the luxury of being able to take longer and get it right. All having said that, a lot of the best stuff on Avalanche, the new album, came around in the last few weeks, and we really feel like we're on fire, and we want to strike while the iron's hot and start working on album 10.
Right. Song wise, then obviously, like on the last two albums, and probably as I kind of touched on earlier, there seems to be more interviews with you nowadays, and more points where you'll talk about songwriting. So I've seen so many interviews, and I've got an example of like 4 songs that you kind of spoke about, like connecting to other songs, like back in the back catalogue. So like from the How to Be a Person album, you get How to Be a Person connected to The Good Will Out, and We Are It was connected to Retread, and then on the latest album, Avalanche, The Power connects to Drawn From Memory, and Get Out My Own Way connects to Fireworks.
Yeah, you've been doing your homework.
So when you're writing these songs, like the newer songs, at what point do you kind of realise that it means something for you?
It's weird. You just sort of feel a certain way. Like this song is another chapter in that story that began with, Retread or Drawn From Memory or wherever it is. And fortunately, the next chapter of the story is a happier one than the first chapter. So, We Are It there's a line in Retread where no one's seen the bad in me or been where I've been and not turned to leave. And then in We Are It, it's like I found that person who did that, So Retread is no longer true anymore. And Drawn From Memory, I talk about how a girl didn't have me under a spell anymore. She lost her power over me. And now I've met someone else who's got the power again, got the power of me, and that's what the power's about. And so, it is sort of, it's nice to do that. It feels really authentic and real, and all the songs, the main criteria for me is they have to be saying something authentic and real and that I really feel. And I guess that's what I want to come back to what we were saying about this is there's a bit of a dearth of that on that album.
Yeah.
Whereas on this new album, it's every single song is picked just because of that. It doesn't matter whether it's catchy or, upbeat, downbeat, wherever it is. The main thing is it has to give you that feeling. And if it doesn't, it didn't make it onto the album. And so I think that's what makes it as strong as it is.
In the last couple of months, I think, did you go out to La Sierra Casa with Kyle?
Yeah. That was great.
How did you find that? Did
just
that
amazing. Anybody who, any artist who ever gets asked by Kyle or Mark to go out there should definitely do it. I had an absolute blast. There's like, a couple of dozen people who all want to know how to write songs, and I spend all day like with an acoustic guitar going through all their ideas and hopefully helping them. There were a lot of smiling faces at the end, so I think I did help. Hopefully, I did. And some of them are really good. Some of them are like gonna get somewhere. I think. And when I was there, Kyle, The View was there, and he's a lovely gentleman, and
he's so energetic, and he's got so many ideas.
I've known him on and off for a while. He used to come to a nightclub I used to do in Camden back 20 years ago or whatever. And we bump into each other at festivals because quite often they're on the bill as well, and I've got all the time in the world for him. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah. And so that leads us into like the new album Avalanche. So to bring out Avalanche on the year of your 30th anniversary, you get so much going on. So to bring that out at the start of the year, you get the tour in November, in which I'm coming to see you again at the Barrowlands.
Yeah.
I was just looking. I didn't realise it was a Tuesday, so I'll need to make sure that I booked a night off work for it.
A lot of people in Glasgow are going to have to book that Wednesday off.
And obviously, you talked about the spoken word coming up and the book, which I haven't got the book. I'm waiting on the postman delivering it, so the book's on the way. So what goes into the book? How much work goes into that?
Oh, that was...
And also, it says Volume 1, so that was one of the other questions. Is there going to be more?
Do 3. The first volume is like from our childhoods all the way up until getting dropped by a hut.
Right.
So just before Out of Nothing. And yeah, it's the first one we've done as the five of us. We've never released a book in 30 years. Most bands at our level will have done like half a dozen books, and we've never done even one. Been asked loads and loads of times, and it's never felt like the right time. We've always really looked forward, and we're not really one of those bands that sort of looks back that much usually. You know, a typical case in point is this year, the 30th anniversary, and the record company wanted to do greatest hits and all that, and we were like, oh no, we've got a new album, you know. And we also did that on the 25th anniversary as well. I think we released Love Is a Basic Need back then. So it's like we are always thinking about the next thing, and but it came around again, and it was like it's 30 years now. There's a good book there, and we were like, yeah, fair enough. let's do it. And so the five of us just got together. We were interviewed separately and together, and what we've discovered is that between the five of us, we've got one good memory of everything that happened. And as you read the book, you hear everyone's perspective on all these different events, and they're all very, very different. You know, it's like a George Martin scenario. Everybody has a different memory of these big events that happen. But it's a really great read, and there's some fantastic photos. Like from that period, like it's way before people used to have phones on their cameras, and so a lot of people would think that we wouldn't have that many photos, but actually Mike, our drummer, used to always have a digital camera and was always in your face taking photos of everything. So we've got so much stuff that's never been sent. And then we're going back, and he sort of threw down the gauntlet by getting out these really embarrassing pictures of him when he was a kid and a teenager and stuff. We were like, right, well, if he's going to do that, I'm going to get mine out. And so we've got all these like really sort of cheesy old photos in there as well. But I think anybody who's a fan of the band will absolutely love the book. And I think if you've got a mate who's an Embrace fan, they would love it from you for Christmas. I think it's one of those, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll post links to that as well in the show notes, and links for the tour. As I say, I'm looking forward to this one in November. But what comes after that then? Obviously, you touched on writing stuff for a 10th album. So what would be the timeline for that? Are you looking try to start too early?
Over the next few weeks, so I've got the spoken word tour in September, October. Then I've got the band tour in November, and I think maybe beginning December, maybe not. And then in the new year, in March, I've got the second leg of the spoken word tour in March, April. And so probably January, February, beginning of March will be when we're going to record album number 10. And yeah, we've already got a handful of really good songs. So yeah, it's going to be great.
So what would that look like then? So see if you're recording then, how long are you looking like a year down the line till release?
Yeah, I think the plan next year is to release like a redux album of all our old classic songs reimagined now, 30 years later.
Right.
So I think that's what we were going to do that this year, but we had a new album, so we pushed it back to next year, and then the year after will probably be when album 10 comes out.
Brilliant, man! That's brilliant. And then after that, we're just looking for volume 2 of the book.
Yeah, exactly.
And then volume 3 and more albums and
yeah. And on top of that, I've got like a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, and 5 different screenplays in active development. TV companies. So
that was one of the questions as well. Like people were asking when we'll be able to see some of these screenplays.
I'm currently developing something with Warp, who did Adolescence and This Is England and Dead Man Shoes and so many of the best TV ever, and the BBC.
Right.
Fingers crossed for that. It is really incredibly difficult to get into high-end drama. But, I'm a rock star, so I never let the odds get in the way of me pursuing my dreams. You know what I mean? Life's too short, so...
Well, it's funny, obviously, talking to Tom Bellamy this morning. A lot of his stuff features in Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Like he does soundtrack stuff. Yeah, I actually write the scripts. The actual drama. Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I thought it was like writing music for...
No, the actual drama.
Right, well, I'm looking forward to that then as well. And if any of that does make it out, how would we know about it? Would you be posting it on your social
Oh
media?
yeah, don't worry, I'll let everybody know.
Brilliant. Brilliant. We're 40 minutes in. We've done really well. I think I've got everything out of you in this perfect
Brilliant.
timing. The last part of the podcast, it's called Time for Heroes.
Yeah.
And I asked my guest to pick 4 heroes to come for dinner.
Right.
Dead or alive, for whatever
Yeah.
profession you like.
Yeah.
Why are they your heroes and what are you cooking for them?
Right, okay. So I would definitely have to have Bill Hicks in there. Just like such an amazing comedian. I remember I was about, I think I was about 17, 18 when I first heard about him. And the way that he just says it how it is, I just felt was so brave. And just the way that he just burned really bright and didn't care and didn't for anyone. He just hoped that people would go to him, and they did. And just found that really, really inspiring from an artistic point of view. So yeah, him, Muhammad Ali,
Right.
because he's the greatest. I had a big influence on my childhood. Obviously, he did a lot of his biggest work in the 70s, and that was when I was a young kid. And for the same reason, Elvis Presley, again, a massive impact on me as a kid, as I was saying earlier. Definitely a huge hero. I think sort of coming more modern day, I would say someone like PJ Harvey.
Right.
I remember met her in Copenhagen. She was doing a gig at the same venue we were at the day after, and we had a day off, so I went to see her. And probably the most profound gig I've ever been at. I came away. My mouth was on the floor. I was just absolutely took my breath away. And I actually got to meet her at that gig. And it's the only ever time in my life I've ever been starstruck. I was absolutely like, I tried to not be starstruck. I tried to by saying, "Oh my god, I'm so starstruck," to try and get that out of the way as like a way of dealing with it, and so that I could chill a little bit. But it just made me worse. And in the end, she was like, "It's all fine, Daddy. Would you like a cup of tea?" She's like a queen or something. And I was just like, I could not hold it together. She was incredible. Yeah, so she'd be amazing to have at the dinner table, although I probably wouldn't be comfortable enough to actually eat. I feel like I'd be giggling under the table and feeling not worthy,
So you'd be more starstruck with PJ Harvey than Elvis Presley?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I've seen people much, much, much more famous than PJ Harvey. I've met loads of very, very famous people like that. I've never been starstruck before or since. It was just something about that performance that just really floored me, and I just couldn't put it into words, and just couldn't articulate how incredible I thought she was. And those first couple of albums, Rid of Me, and the one with when they gig on, I think it's called Dry, were just like, she was so much better than all the men that were around then. And there was some great, like the Pixies and Nirvana and stuff. Some of the best rock in that genre. But I felt like she was even better. And
yeah. And it wasn't until later on that she was kind of recognised. It was like the Stories of Cities of Seas that that was Mercury.
Yeah, I sort of, it was those first couple of albums that I really loved, and I haven't really sort of been an avid fan of everything that she's done since, but I still really admire who she is, and would love to, have her around for dinner if only to apologise for being a complete idiot at the time. And then who else? I've got one more, and I should have thought of this in advance, but I haven't. Let me think. Just give me a minute. I think one of the whistleblowers that there are around at the moment that are sort of trying to warn the world about AI. There's been a couple of people. I can't remember the guy's name now. I'll have to look it up for you. But he was on a podcast recently, and he was basically he did a thing where people might be able to find it from this. He did a thing about social media, a film about social media, warning everybody that it was gonna, it was gonna cause all kinds of issues. And he's now basically, saying the same thing about AI. And I just think he's devoting his life to trying to save us all from, a fate potentially worse than death. And I'd love to sit down and speak to him, and I'll just let me look him up. Just give me a sec. You can edit into this bit so that I can get his name for you.
I actually got a row off my boy. It was my boy's birthday last week, and I went on that Suno app, AI music, and I made a song for his birthday. I've been making a grime album, taking the piss out of people at my work and all that. I've got I've got 9 songs or something. I'm thinking of releasing it, but I made this song for him for his birthday, right? And I thought it'll be dead embarrassing for him, and I played him it, and he went mental, and gave me a big lecture about how AI is ruining the world.
Well, I mean, you know, it has potential to do that. His name is Tristan Harris,
right?
So yeah, check him out. Like, go and follow what he's got.
Yeah, I'll have a look, and I'll have a look for that podcast.
I mean, you know, I'm not anti-AI. I think it has the potential to be a wonderful thing, but I think the way that the world is shaping up at the moment, where there's like a handful of trillionaires it really does look like it's gonna be the dystopian ending that Noel Hawley wrote about in that Alien thing that he did, the TV show.
Yeah.
Where there's like 5 or, a handful of really big trillionaires that rule the world, and it's not governments anymore. I think we have to really be careful, because there's a not 0% chance that might happen in our lifetime.
And the thing is, it doesn't make sense. Like, obviously, I think in my last guest, I was talking to him about this as well. Obviously, Elon Musk came out the other week, and he's saying about how
he's not the worst of them.
Yeah. But he's saying that we'll no need to, and we won't need to work. And you're like, well, how does that work? Obviously,
it works that he gets all the fucking money and all the power, and he doesn't give a fuck. That's how that works.
It's absolute nonsense, because people still need to be cared for and all that. It makes no sense.
I can't believe anybody thinks that these billionaires are suddenly going to put their hands in their pockets and start spreading the wealth. You don't become a billionaire by being, the nicest guy in the world. You have to be a cunt.
Yeah,
it's part of the job description, because you have to stamp on people to get to the top, because there's so many people striving to be there. So it's a prerequisite that anybody in power or a billionaire is a cunt. That's just how it is.
That's brilliant.
If you're hoping for anything different, you're deluding yourself.
That's a great ending point to leave it there. But the thing is, I still need to know what you're cooking for them as well.
All right, yeah. Well, it's gonna have to be something really fucking simple, because I'm a shit cook. So it's probably gonna be pasta with some chili pesto, like that I just boil and get out of it. I mean, I'm gonna take 5 minutes cooking it, but it tastes nice, so it should be all right.
You cannot go wrong with pasta. Absolutely brilliant. It's been a pleasure speaking to you today, Danny.
And you. I'm glad we managed to sort it out at last.
5 years in the making. We've finally got it.
Well, let's not leave it so long next time, eh?
Thank you very much.
All right, mate.
Thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to get in touch, please contact me on the email timeforheroespod@gmail.com, or you can get me on Instagram at timeforheroespodcast. Thanks very much. We'll be back soon with another episode.